Let's see. Close your hand.
Just makes me laugh. So dorky. You pet Diesel with it?
Oh boy.
So we've gotten this closet framed up here. Green 2x4s on the bottom. You can see around the doors do double 2x4s. You got this one up here rest on top. I want that really nice and solid so that's not shifting. I had to go in and cut out and expose and make sure I got 2x4s that I'm connecting to. Actually, in this case, 2x6s. That's our house all framed in like that. So we'll have to get drywall hung on this, and then all the fun gets going. I gotta still pound in a couple nails here. I have these 22 blank cartridge things that slam and stick those down into the concrete so those won't move at all. Door that I'm going to be putting in is a 36-inch bifold door. So in order for everything to get framed up correctly, with a bifold door, you don't have the opening quite as big as a standard swinging door. You actually have it basically the width of that bifold door and 80 inches tall. But because I'm using 1/2-inch drywall on this, and I will put that on the insides here, I had to actually frame this out to 37 inches by 80.5 to allow for that 1/2-inch drywall. So, one of the things I want to get done today is actually get a little bit of drywall hung up on here. One of the things I wanted to do with this project is I wanted to build sort of a James Bond hidden compartment in this closet. We got this 5-inch ledge, 5.5-inch, about 6 inches that come off this wall. I was thinking about putting a false wall inside this closet where that is. But the problem I run up against is drywall, and it's a little bit difficult to be able to hide seams. If you did some sort of boards or something like that, it might be a little bit easier. And a lot of times you look at a lot of the hidden compartments out there, it's usually done with trim, whether that's a mirror or a bookcase. There's generally trim that does that. And if I put a piece of trim right there, I think it's gonna draw attention to itself. I could put some sort of shelf or something like that that goes in there, but we're working with such a small space. And I keep going back and forth trying to figure out what am I exactly trying to hide and who am I trying to hide it from, because that will play a pretty big difference. You know, you hear about Hurricane Katrina and court martial and them coming in, confiscating guns. I'm not a huge gun nut, but a gun is a very vital tool. I'm a hunter. It's something that comes in very handy protecting our livestock from coyotes and all that stuff. And the idea of that ever getting taken away is a little bit of a scary thought. It would definitely make life a lot more difficult. So if I was looking to hide a gun, and it really then now comes down to who am I trying to hide it from? If it's the U.S. government, I mean, let's get honest. In today's technology, they probably have something very similar to a stud finder or a thermal heat type tool to be able to quickly identify and see this type of stuff right through your wall. Now, if you're trying to hide something like this from just someone breaking into your house, generally they're looking to get in and out really quick, and they're shuffling through stuff. They're not running around looking for little hidden compartments. And that stuff does happen. Living out in a rural area, a lot of times there's not a lot of people around, or there's big distances between houses, so it's not very easy to keep a close eye on stuff. There was some burglars going around in our area several years ago. These guys came in and they even took whole entire gun safes. So having something like that hidden in the wall would definitely make it a little bit more difficult, especially when they're looking to get in and out. So I'm almost debating here on whether to abandon the idea of creating a cubby there. If it's looking to hide a gun, I could definitely do something smaller compartment pretty easy. I think it's going to get a little bit more difficult if I wasn't going to try to stick a gun in there, and I mean, it's like a rifle, a shotgun, relatively long gun. It's going to need space, and I got to be able to have that door open outward because that space is so tight. And then if you have any shelving in there, it gets a little difficult. So I'm going to try to bounce around some different ideas. Try to keep it simple, not get too wild and crazy. We could get pretty crazy with like magnet type spring systems and you know, hydraulic hinges or something like you'd see on the back of a minivan. You know, the way the doors open back up and stay. But I wanted to share a couple ideas, and then I'm looking for some ideas from you guys. I mean, the internet's a great tool. I haven't really gotten out and explored too much on a lot of the options out there, but I thought I would share a couple ideas with you guys. Maybe this gets the wheels turning if you're thinking about putting something like this in your place, but I'm also hoping you guys have some suggestions, ideas that you guys can share with me as well. So right now I'm standing inside this closet. I framed this out to be about 30 inches, so I'm going to have to put another 2x4 here, but I left this purposely open just so it'd be a little easier to film as I worked back in here. Now, I've been toying with the idea of just ditching this area altogether because it gets very difficult to create some sort of hinge as this thing swings open because it's not very deep. The wall that we have behind here, actually there's a set of stairs that run up, so you can't really have the hidden wall slide into the wall. So it probably have to hinge out this way. And then if you have any sort of shelving inside of this closet, it's going to get very difficult, especially if I did want to store guns up onto the shelf, which they would fit. I'd probably have to have the opening probably somewhere up in here so I could squeeze them up in there. And then that thing would have to swing up. And a lot of times about 6 feet is where you have your pole and your top shelf rack. So debating whether to just abandon that idea there, or maybe I can build something. But the other idea I was thinking was actually up here in the ceiling. As you notice, I was hanging a lot of this drywall. The bottom sheet I brought up a 1/2 inch. That way that drywall, if you get water down here or something, it's not going to wake up any moisture. Plus then you get your flooring in here, and when it's all said and done, trim hides that. Then I took my top part, I shoved that all the way up to the ceiling, and then you notice I still had about, I don't remember what that was, 6 inch gap or something like that, because the ceiling is 8.5 feet tall. So my other idea, I was thinking, well, I could utilize this space up here, especially inside the closet. Maybe what I could do is frame in a box that comes close to this wall and then goes up, and it actually has an opening here. So as you look inside the closet, a lot of times you're not going to be able to see, you won't notice that unless you actually peek your head inside the closet itself. Then I get stuck the gun. But then you run into some problems. Pretty simple design, but once if you slid that gun or whatever that object is too far, it gets very difficult to be able to get some of that. You could probably rig up like a attic type hinge door or something like that. That's another option too. But that might get a little pricey. So let me show you this one other idea that my wife actually came up with, and I think it's the route that I'm gonna take here. So you can see this is, I mean, here's the main part of the closet. There's that opening I was just showing you here that will eventually close off. My wife came up with a pretty good idea, because one of the limitations we're really running up against is just the small space. The closet only comes out 30 inches, and I mean that shelf only is, you know, about 5.5, 6 inches. And when you start putting shelving in, and anything that starts making it actually look like an authentic closet, which we want it to be a functional closet, it starts getting very difficult in how you have that door swing without bumping up against things. And my wife suggested, why don't you just build onto the closet just a little bit more, maybe 6 to 8 inches. So when you're looking in the closet, you're probably not going to notice that 6 or 8 inches missing, but you could easily build a buffer space in here at the very end. So I would have to frame out another, you know, couple 2x4s and then have the wall there and do something like that. Then it gets very easy because we could utilize trim to be able to, you know, go get a pretty cheap mirror down at Target or something like that and have that mirror swing open on the hinges. You could do like a rail type system where that mirror slides. There's a lot of accessing it from the outside of the closet makes it a lot more easy to conceal. So that's one idea, and I think that's the way I'm leaning right now. It's part of the reason I wanted to open this up to you guys. Maybe you guys have seen something out there on the internet that you could share with me. Maybe I'm overlooking something, but right now I think that's probably the best option. I just wish I would have thought about this a little bit earlier on. So I could have framed this up. So I'll probably have to go out and get a couple more 2x4s, do a bit more framing. But right now at this point, I think that's the route we're going. Anyways, if you got suggestions, I'd love to hear them. I'm looking to keep things pretty simple, pretty easy, and probably could even do multiple of them. We could do that ceiling part. We could do, you know, this chunk here. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.